Welcome to the Undisputed podcast. I'm your host, Jenny Taft. This podcast is the full show from today's episode of Undisputed from start to finish. They've got a busy slate, so skip Shannon. Let's get to it. Welcome to Undisputed. We are live from Los Angeles. I'm Jenny Taft. You with Skip Bayless and Shannon Sharpe. Good morning.
Good morning.
It's been a busy weekend.
You know when I get on parlay, when you hit the parlay, you celebrate big time. How you doing, Skip? Don't mind me. Just go ahead. Keep on doing what you're doing. I just celebrate. You know, I hit that on 3-team parlay. I can hold this thing for the bottom. Skip.
Better be careful. You get addicted to that stuff.
This is what the Hawks. Hawks and Bucks brought me there. How you doing, Skip?
They didn't bring you anything, but I will give you this. The Bucks brought you 8 cases by 1 inch. 1 inch of toe was on the line for Kevin Durant, who hit one of the greatest clutch shots in the history of professional basketball. 1 inch, and you would have lost all of the above.
Hold on,
1 inch, and it's over.
Skip, what about the 5 cases me and you had on the Atlanta Hawks?
I don't remember those.
Yeah, I told you Hawks in 7.
I don't think we bet on that.
Oh, yeah, we bet on that.
Oh, did we?
You mind if I get one more swig?
Yeah, you can have it. But, ladies and gentlemen, all that matters is that the Los Angeles Clippers are in the conference finals for the first time in their 51-year history, and the Los Angeles Lakers, whatever happened to LeBron James? He's LeGone James.
And guess what? We ain't start our vacation yet because we knew y'all be joining us. We'll give y'all another 8 days.
Yeah,
y'all be joining
Clippers
us.
got the Suns right where they want them.
Okay.
Booker may have something to say about that. We have so much to get to today, so we will talk about that big toe. I promise you that later on. But how about this? Trae Young and the Hawks, they punched their ticket to the Eastern Conference Finals after a 103-96 Game 7 win over Joel Embiid and the 76ers. Atlanta's point guard had a cold shooting night, but he finished with 21 points as he put the finishing touches on Philly. Embiid scored 31, but it wasn't enough as fellow All-Star Ben Simmons finished with just 5 points, guys. The Sixers will now head into the offseason with doubt surrounding their roster. So, Shannon, what is the biggest reason the 76ers lost this game?
Well, Jen, I'm going to disagree. There's no doubt around this roster.
Okay.
They know what they need to do. The question is whether or not they're going to do it. Skip, they lost because their second best player became unplayable in the series. And we talked about this a couple of weeks ago, Skip, that Doc said that, you don't really know basketball if you think we're going to take Ben Simmons out of the ball game late in the ball game, even though he's an atrocious free throw shooter. He's going to play. And then the last couple of minutes of this ball game, they side him out. A couple of nights ago, they side him out 2 or 3 possessions because they were fouling. They used Hacker Ben, and they got back into the ball game and they won it. So he became unplayable. Skip, here's some numbers for you. He's taken 0 shots in the last 4 quarters. He's taken 1 shot over the last 4 quarters. Skip, the guy that touches the ball the most, if he becomes unplayable, there is no value. He can't give you enough on the other end to add value. Because if you ever get behind, what a team's going to do? Instead of you taking a 3, they're going to foul him. Skip, Ben Simmons has not gotten any better since he arrived as a rookie. Now, you look at him and you look at Lonzo Ball. You can see the improvement Lonzo Ball has made every year in his shooting. Ben Simmons has not gotten better. And let me tell you the difference, Skip. I could not swim. I went to 4-H camp. I was in 6th grade, and I couldn't swim. And my friends, Ricky Blanton, Grady Kicklotter, and Simi Driggers, they asked me, they're like, can you swim? I said, no. They asked me, am I afraid of the water? I said, no. They said, we can teach you how to swim. You see, the difference is Ben Simmons can't shoot, but that's not his problem. He's afraid to shoot. That's his problem. Skip it. If you're afraid to shoot the ball, you'll never be able to shoot it.
So they should trade Ben Simmons, is what you're saying.
Absolutely. 1,714%.
That might be the most absurd thing you've ever said on this show. Go ahead.
You can keep him, but you're never going to win with him.
Okay.
Not a championship. And I tell you what, hey, play that sound for me. Jim, run that sound for me. Now, I don't know, I've never coached a game of basketball in my life, but here's the guy that's played the game, has won a championship as a coach. This is what he said.
Doc, you think Ben Simmons can still be a point guard for a championship team like the one you guys want to become?
Yeah, David, I don't know that question or the answer to that right now. So I don't know the answer to that.
And I immediately tweeted the moment he said that, because I was watching it live, because I'm all over it after the game. You can look at my timeline. That was out of bounds on Doc's part. You can't shift all the blame to him, because Doc Rivers has repeatedly blown big leads as a head coach in this league. So is he without blame?
No.
Love Doc, but you can't say that. You cannot throw Ben Simmons under that bus just because the bus ran over you.
Okay. Jim, you got that Joel Embiid sound for me?
Yep. I saw this too live. I was watching it live. I actually have the sound turned up on my TV.
Okay, run it for me, Jim, right quick.
I don't know how to say it, but I thought the turning point was just, we had an open shot, and, we made one free throw, and we missed the other, and then they came down and scored.
Yep. I actually asked for that also. Believe it or not. I don't know. I actually watch all the games and all the post games.
I watch the games.
Okay.
But what I do is that I don't listen to the sound.
Okay.
So therefore, when you hear Shannon Sharpe speak, this is Shannon Sharpe speaking.
Okay.
So Skip, I don't get how your starting point guard shoots low 30s for the free throw line. He scored 4 points in ball games, and you think you can win a championship with him. Because here's the thing, Joel Embiid doesn't have a championship window like everybody else, given his history. You make it seem like Joel Embiid all of a sudden is going to say, you know what? I need to drop 20 pounds. I need to maintain my peak level of physical fitness to make sure I get everything out of my NBA career. Has he shown you that ability to do that yet, Skip? Has Ben Simmons shown you the ability to shoot the ball? Forget threes. Has he shown you the ability to shoot outside of the paint? No, he has not. Skip, you've seen enough. Go back and look at the history. When you get a guy like Ben Simmons and you get a guy like Joel Embiid, you're supposed to be Shaq Kobe. You're supposed to be Kareem Magic. You're supposed to be Cousy Russell. You're supposed to be Oscar Kareem.
Yep.
Tony Parker, Tim Duncan.
Yep.
They're not even that. Penny Shaq. Skip, at some point in time, you got to cut your losses.
Tell me when you're finished.
You got to cut your losses,
Okay,
Skip.
you done?
I'm done.
Okay, thank you very much. My turn. First of all, it was absolutely shameful that last night the Sixers lost a Game 7 at home while little Trae, he was cold. He was shivering all night. He shoots 5 of 23. He shoots 2 of 11 from 3. You have to win that game. He is begging and begging and begging you, just take it over and put us out of our misery. And instead, the script flipped, and Joel Embiid could not bring it home. He had a huge start to the fourth quarter, but he had no finish to the fourth quarter except for a bunch of lousy, careless turnovers. And he had 8 for the game, and you cannot win with 8 turnovers. But here's the God's truth about this series. It was lost in Game 4 of the Philly-Washington first-round series when Joel Embiid tore his cartilage. I know for a dead, solid fact he has a small flap of torn cartilage that they're going to have to fix in the offseason. And they begged him. They told him, they showed him the MRI, and they said, you can play through this because it's such a small flap that it probably won't bother you that much. It'll bite you occasionally, but it's not going to get worse. And what happened? Joel Embiid does not have the highest pain threshold. He's never exhibited the highest pain threshold. And so routinely through this series, he would grimace and wince as he went up the floor. So he was never himself last night. How can you not post up Clint Capella? You can annihilate him, as we saw when he went 8 for 8 to open up Game 5. 8 for 8 in the first quarter and outscored Capella 17-0 because he posted him. You have to go and set up and shield him off and get position and demand the basketball. Instead, no, I'm not sure about my knee, so I'm going to drift around the perimeter and shoot three-point shots.
That's been the criticism of Joel Embiid. He doesn't post enough even when he's healthy.
But he could have, but he never trusted his knee in this series, and it changed everything. Because even last night, He thought he was Kevin Durant. He thought he could take the ball out at the top of the circle and do all this and do all this and dribble it. And the plays of the game came when, if we could see this, they still had them. And could we see Thibault? Listen, Philly plays so dumb. The Sixers just play dumb basketball. And they had them. And if we could see what Herter did to Thibault, this is an all-defensive player. This is when you've cut it to one, and he just dives and slaps him across the hand. You can't do that. You're going to lose at home if you do that. Slaps him across the hand, knocks Herter down, and he obviously has a hot hand, so he goes to the free throw line and makes all three, and then here we come up to the other end, and Joel says, I'm Kevin Durant. Watch what I can do. And let's watch him drive to the right, and let's watch Danilo Gallinari just pick his pocket. He just picked it from behind, and it's a breakaway, and that's the ball game right there. Good night, Sixers. And maybe they put them out of their misery because they're a troubled basketball team. And I don't know why Doc couldn't fix them, but Doc wasn't able to fix the Clippers the way Ty Lue fixed them right before your very eyes. And somehow he lost a game. What game were they up? Game 4, they were up 18 and then 26 in game 5.
Right.
It's just so wrong.
Right.
They dominate. They're 2-1 in this series. Now, I'm going to remind everybody that the Sixers had the best record in the East. Everybody's forgotten that now, but they had the best record in the East. The Sixers at home over the last 2 regular seasons are 61-9 with Embiid and Simmons. 61-9 at home. Is that good? That's great. That's the best 2-year record at home in pro basketball. And now let's get to Ben Simmons. I'm going to defend him today because if you look at the overall scope of his work, he's made 3 straight All-Star teams. You're saying, let's trade our 3 straight time All-Star.
Yeah.
He's made first team All-Defense 2 straight years. 2 straight years, first team All-Defense. Yeah. And if you look at his track record in the postseason, if you look at his first playoff series against Miami in 2018, he made 25 of 35 free throws in that playoff series.
Okay.
That was 71%. Then they played the Celtics in the next round. They lost that, but he made 70% of his free throws. My point to you is I've seen him with my own eyes make free throws in big playoff games. So if we look at his overall stats, he's for his career 16, 8, and 8. It's hard to replace the 8 and 8 part of it. It's hard to replace the first team all defense part of it because he perennially leads your team in assists because he's the point forward.
Correct.
And he's going to lead in usage rate. And I give you, he can't shoot a lick from outside. And I give you that he hasn't tried to learn how to shoot a lick from outside. But for his career, he's a 60% free throw shooter, which is not unplayable. 60's okay, right?
But at the point guard position, but what is he in clutch time?
Okay. Well, all I know is in the playoffs, he has slowly sunk into the sunset because he starts off with 71% against Miami, 70, then it drops to 58, then 56. That was against Brooklyn and then the Raptors in 2019. And then this year against Washington, he sank all the way to 36%. And in this series, he sank to 33%. And to your point, he sank in the fourth quarter to I just won't even touch the basketball anymore. I can't do it. I can't even get close to shooting because they're going to foul me.
Skip, you skipped. The man had a dunk. The man is 6'10", standing in the basket.
Did we show that?
We didn't show that, Skip.
Okay, we got to see it.
Because that's what Embiid was talking about.
He was 3:29.
We should have prefaced it about first.
Okay,
this is what Embiid is talking about right here.
3:29 left, and he wheels on Gallinari, and he's just got a dunk. He's remember. This man, Ben Simmons, is 6'11", 240. 6'11", 240.
Skip, that's Trae Young.
And guess who it is? It's Trae Young. So what, is Trae Young even going to try to foul you? Is he going to try to foul you?
That's what he did. He faked that. He faked that like, oh, I'm out your way.
Yep.
He passes up a dunk to pass because he said, well, I thought Gallinari was on my back. Skip, you 6'10", dunk Gallinari in the basket.
Well, yeah, he said, I thought he was going to get me from behind. I don't think he was going to get him from behind. He wasn't even close.
He gave up.
He was 3 feet.
He's like, oh, you done got me, bro. Hey, ain't no sense in me giving you an and one. I thought Gallinari should have grabbed him, Skip.
I don't even care about the and one, but if you dunk it, the game is tied with 3:29 left.
Well, he wasn't going to get the and one, but I'm saying I would have grabbed him so he wouldn't dunk it. Gallinari says, well, you know what? Gallinari actually made a mistake in that situation because he should have tied him up to make him go make the free throws instead of giving him the opportunity to dunk. But you can't Skip, let that sink in. That's your starting point guard. That's the guy that you said you should keep on the roster. A guy that's 6'10.5" that passed up a dunk. And you talking about you going to win a championship with him? Come on, Skip.
What was the rest of Doc's message? He said, we've got to get back in the gym. I don't think Doc's going to take him to the gym in the offseason. It's going to be up to Ben Simmons to rededicate to learning how to shoot the way, to your point, Lonzo, he completely revamped.
Right.
Lonzo revamped, but he had to change his motion from over here to over here.
Right.
Ben has no motion problems. It looks good to me. It gets a little flat sometimes.
Right.
It's just a confidence problem. You can defeat the confidence problem by shooting 10,000 in the offseason.
Right.
You can. Everybody says like a golf swing, you can reteach it in 10,000 swings. Well, if you went and seriously shot, that's a lot of free throws, but if you could shoot 10,000 in the offseason, maybe you'd finally, especially if you got with a shot doctor coach who could really try to reinstill your confidence, because it's just confidence with him. He's done it before. It's not like he never could shoot at LSU, because he could shoot it okay at LSU.
But here's the difference, Skip. We saw a lot of guys that when they were in the bubble and there was no fans around, Skip, they were all NBA players. And then when the very same players that we saw lighted up in the bubble, when they got back and the fans started coming back in the building, they had like they didn't ever seen a basketball before in their life. I'm not saying, Skip, he probably gets in the gym and he probably looks like Steph Curry at times. But the difference is that he doesn't have the confidence. He's afraid to do it.
He's had it in the past, but he lost it slowly but surely this year.
No, Skip. He's always been afraid to shoot the ball unless it was in the paint. Now, Skip, he's afraid. He's totally afraid, Skip. You don't pass up to dunks to give a guy that's cutting to the basket, Skip. You dunk the ball home. But he was afraid he was going to get fouled.
That's all. Because swooping to the hoop, he's about as good as there is. Running the break, getting to the rim. He's right up there with LeBron James to me running the break, because he's 6'11". He's 2 inches taller than LeBron.
Correct.
And 240 is, I'm not saying he's stout, but he can pack a wallop at the rim. Well, the point is, he got psychological demons in the depth of his psyche to where he couldn't get them out.
Right.
And obviously Doc or anybody else couldn't help him rebuild his confidence on the fly.
No. That's not happening during the season.
My only issue with him when he was at LSU, that one year he was forced to play college basketball.
Right.
And he winds up in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, and he's looking around like, where the hell am I and what am I having to do?
Right.
And he didn't really care, and about half the time he checked out. But you could see when he checked in just how dominant he could be. But the point was, and by the way, that LSU team got nowhere.
They didn't even make it.
They got invited to the NIT, and they said,
no.
Thank you, but no thank you, right?
Right.
But my problem with Ben Simmons there, and this still could be the problem, is I don't know how much he cares about being great at basketball.
Hold on, Skip. But you just defended the guy, said I was out of my mind. But you don't know how much he cares. You love guys that care about the game.
I do, but he is so gifted, and he's done it. Here's the final point that you're missing, I feel like. He's age 24. He's 24 years of age. Surely he can figure out, with the shame and humiliation he's going through right now, that I have to rededicate to this. I have to fix myself where next time around, because I've seen him get mad. He got mad at Jared Dudley one time. Remember when they were playing Brooklyn, when Brooklyn was nobody?
When Joel Embiid missed.
And he just destroyed Jared Dudley and the Nets at Brooklyn. Remember that?
Yeah, I do.
He just annihilated them because he's got that in him, but he has to get mad about it. So to me, I'm not going to give up on him, because 3 straight All-Star teams and 2 straight first-team All-Defenses is something that doesn't grow on Los Angeles palm trees.
Skip, what good is $1 million car if it's not operational?
Well,
what good is it?
But it has operated.
Yes, but it's not operational
It's
now.
won a bunch of races.
But Skip, at the end of the day, so he's giving you that. He's an all-NBA player. He's an all-defensive player. You look at that in the playoff. When has he been that in the last 2 series, the last 2 years? When has he been what his resume says that he should be?
Well, again, I'm showing you that for a while he was shooting free throws at a 70% clip in playoff series. 2 full series, he shot 70%. That'll work.
Skip, I thought you sell high. I mean, the stock's declining. So in other words, the stock's dipping, and you trying to buy more of it? You must know something I don't.
Okay, just remember, they were up 2-1 on Atlanta.
Yes.
And I was just sure it was over, and I think you were too.
No, I told you it was going 7.
Okay, but they were up 18 in Game 4 and 26 in Game 5. What?
Right.
And then they win on Friday night and won Game 6 pretty handily. They showed you again and again, when they flexed their might, they were better than the Atlanta Hawks. They're not more together. They're not more unified. They're not hotter than the Hawks, who keep overcoming their little shivering point guard. And he does good. He's a great passer, and he's great for their chemistry because he can distribute the rock and he can get Capella dunks.
Well, this is what we know. Ice Trae in this series was 29-11. Now, if Ben Simmons was giving me 29-11, I don't care what had transpired. I was like, we got to hold on to him. But he's not giving me 29-11. Hell, he's not even. What did Ben Simmons average in this series, Skip? And you talking about hold on to a starting point guard?
Absolutely.
That averaged less than 10 points a game.
No, he didn't. In the whole series?
Yes.
He was 14, 7, and 7 with 2 steals a game. And why did Trae Young, for the whole series, shoot 39% from the floor, which is horrendously bad? Ben Simmons. I give you 2 names, Ben and Simmons.
But
that's why.
But see, when you tie everything to Trae Young with points, you're going to say, yeah, he did play bad. But what about those 11 assists in the series? Over 7 games, that's what he gave you. He had 5 games with double-digit assists because Trae Young can add value by doing something other than scoring. Can Ben Simmons bring you value? The value that Trae Young bought the Hawks by doing what he did? Absolutely not. Not for a championship team. Yeah, it's going to look good in the regular season, Skip, because you know why? Because one week you're playing Atlanta, then one game you're playing Atlanta, then you're to the Nets, then you're to the Heat, and this one and that one. But in a series where they can lock in on you, that's what you get.
Okay, but still, Game 7 went right to the wire, and it's just dumb play after dumb play by the Sixers cost them the game.
But you haven't told me what Ben did. Okay, it went right to the wire. Guy played 36 minutes. He was 2 of 4 from the field. Let that sink in. 2 of 4, 1 of 2 from the free throw line. Now, you tell me LeBron James should just drive the basketball. Ben Simmons got you. Come on, Skip.
What he did for you was 5 of 23 for Trae Young. That's what he did. And how the Hawks overcame that, I don't know.
Oh, let me tell you how Kevin Huerter had 27. John Collins had 14 and 16. Clint Capella had 13. Trae Young was 21 and 11. Gallinari was 17. That's how you overcome it. I'm just trying to figure how Philadelphia keep having these great.
The Hawks shot 7 of 27 from 3.
Skip.
Way to go,
You
Shannon.
shot 9 of 28 from 3.
Okay.
But what?
That should say that you won the game.
We did.
Yeah. No, that the Sixers should have won the game.
Yeah. Hold on. They shot, Atlanta shot better from the field than you guys. They were 36 of 81. You guys were 34 of 80. You turned the ball over. Look at all the turnovers you had. That's what cost Atlanta Friday night was the turnovers. You turn around and repay the favor to them by turning it over 7 more times in this ball game. Skip, look, I'm just saying there. How big a window do you think you have with Joel Embiid with his injury history? You think it's going to be open like he's going to have a career like Kareem? He's going to play 20 years. He's not.
He'll have to get this fixed. It's not a big deal. He'll be fine in a month after he gets a little.
Skip, what is his injury history told you, Skip?
Yep. Well, I got it. But I also see that Joel Embiid this year had a career year.
Yes.
Yeah, he averaged 29 a game, was second in MVP, but 29 was a career high. Shot a career high 51%, shot a career high 38% from 3, and a career high 86% from the free throw line, and nobody came even close to shooting as many free throws as Joel Embiid. So, monster year, first in the East. Everything's coming up roses. They're up 2-1 in this series. They have leads of 18 and 26 in games 4 and 5, and you say, blow it up. I'm not going to blow it up.
You even started your thing out. I know for a fact Joel Embiid is injured. You started that.
I know for a fact.
So with that being said, when you go out and get you a point guard that can maximize this window that Joel Embiid is going to have, wouldn't you do that?
I would go get a point guard just to have a point guard.
So what you would
to have a real 6'3" playmaker.
So what you gonna do with Ben Simmons then?
There's
just play him.
Frustration in Philly. There's no doubt.
Why do you think Trae Young was 2 of 9 on Friday night?
No mercy.
Giannis scored 40 points in a duel versus Kevin Durant in a Game 7 thriller Saturday between the Bucks and Nets. KD finished with 48 points and sent the game to overtime after hitting a big shot at the end of regulation. But Giannis, he showed up big in OT while KD's luck ran out in overtime as he would go on to airball on his game-tying attempt, securing the win for Milwaukee. I keep thinking, guys, he had to be exhausted at that point. So, Shannon, how much blame does Durant deserve for this loss?
The same amount of blame that you would assess to any other superstar, and the level of blame that you would assess to the greatest player on the planet currently is what Kevin Durant deserves.
Oh, you mean Lagon?
Whoa, hold on, Skip. It's not your turn. It's my turn.
Well,
I don't need no. It's my turn. Let me speak, because I'm going to turn the floor over to you. The way that you assign a superstar, the best player on the planet, has been established by one Skip Bayless. And it happened in game 1 against the Golden State Warriors when LeBron James was 51-8-8. And Skip Bayless said, you gotta make you gotta do all this, yada, yada, yada. And in overtime, LeBron James didn't take a single shot. Well, Kevin Durant in overtime was 0 for 6. And he airballed the last shot. And I need to know why. You see, what happens is everybody was quick to jump on the bandwagon. Kevin Durant is the best player on the planet on Tuesday because he had a historic performance, and there's no denying that. But they asked him to do it again, and he didn't. They asked him to do it again, and he couldn't. Do you see what they asked Kevin Durant to do over the last 3 games? And let me say one more thing before all this gets lost, and I don't want none of this to get lost. Kevin Durant, the best player on the planet, had a 2-0 lead over Giannis. This is not a supers team. Giannis Antetokounmpo is a superstar, but this isn't a super team. You talk about how bad Trae Young shot. I'll see you, Trae Young, and I'll raise your True Holiday. Oh, okay, exactly. Shot 36%. Is that 36 better than the 39? Oh, I didn't think so. But anyway, back to my originally scheduled programming. At the end of the day, it's about superstars. That's what Skip Bayless always tell me. Superstars win this game. And if the guy is what you said he is, he should be able to do that. Now, Tuesday, we're talking about Jeff Green was 8 or 9 from the 3-point line. All Skip Bayless want to talk about was boom, and boom right between y'all, 49, 17, and 10. They say, you know what, KD? Since Kyrie is out and James Harden is still hobbled, we need you to replicate that again. We need you to do what teams have asked LeBron James to do for 18 years. So what you saw on Tuesday for Kevin Durant over 1 game, we've asked LeBron to do that. His entire career, series after series, playoff after playoffs, and he's done it. And when he starts to wear down at the end of the game and he doesn't come through, you don't give him a pass. So with that being said, unfortunately, Skip Bayless, I'm not going to be able to give your guy a pass, Kevin Durant, in this. They lost this game on his home court, which I told you he would. After having a 2-0 lead, has LeBron James ever had a 2-0 lead and blown it? It's a simple yes or no. No. Yes or no, Skip?
I don't know.
You do know.
You must have looked it up.
No comment.
He had all those cakewalks through the East for all those years.
So
all
when you got
those cakewalks.
Skip, you got to think about what your guy had. This is easy. He was going to have it. He was about to get Trae Young. He was about to get a banged-up Clippers. He could possibly get a banged-up Clippers. LeBron was injured. All these injuries, everything was set up perfect for him.
Except he lost his other 2 running
We don't do it.
mates.
No. He's the best player on the planet.
He is, and he proved it by far times 10
He
once
going
again.
home.
Speaking of going home, what did ever happen to LeBron? I don't know. Is he coming back next year?
Only thing, he got a head start. Because guess where KD is? The same place as LeBron.
Shannon, you have my sympathy.
No, I
LeBron
know.
flamed out in the first round against the Phoenix Suns.
Your guy flamed out in the second round.
Okay.
With a 2-0 lead.
My guy had the biggest liability I have ever seen in playoff games, named James Harden, who has a checkered past in playoff games, as we well know, because they're still looking for him in Houston from that night in that closeout Game 6 that my Spurs went to Houston, and James Harden was an absolute calamity. He couldn't do anything anywhere, and my Spurs won by 40-something points that night in a closeout at Houston. He has a track record of disappearing, but this was way worse than disappearing because clearly James Harden was playing on what they all claim to be a pulled hamstring. How do you play 53 minutes? So I watched 3 straight games, and Saturday night he played 53 minutes. That's all the minutes, right? That's the whole game. He played every minute just the way Kevin Durant played every minute. And you know what I nicknamed him during the game? He was Logo James. It's not because he was shooting from the logo. he was dribbling on the logo half the night, or picking up the ball and holding the ball on the logo, looking for Kevin Durant so he could lob him some dangerous loopy pass at the end of the clock so that Kevin Durant could try to take PJ Tucker off the dribble with 4 seconds left on the shot clock. It happened again and again and again. It felt like James Harden was building a statue to himself, of himself on the floor during the game because he played like a statue. He was a cardboard cutout. He should not have played 53 minutes because he was a disaster. He held the ball so long. He put them in so many late clocks. He had no burst. He couldn't dribble by anybody. You could put your worst defender on him because he could not get into the paint. And when he did occasionally by accident find himself in the paint, he was like, I don't know what I should do. Maybe I should just lob this up in the air and hope it goes in the bucket. And he made a couple of lucky shots, but his three-point shots weren't shots. They were throws. He had to actually throw his three-point shots. And he managed to go 5 of 17 from the floor and 2 of 12 from 3. Are you kidding me? It's horrendous. And there was one potential saving grace. A kid who once upon a time won the three-point shootout on All-Star Saturday night named Joe Harris.
What happened?
And Joe Harris was an even bigger disaster because the stage was too big for Joe Harris. He finally got to this moment, and he had nothing but wide-open shots.
After shot, after shot.
If we could see the final one that knocked me right off my couch, because this is for the marbles. This is to put them up 3 in overtime. Up 3 with 56 seconds left in overtime. It's just wide open. He shot it flat. It barely got to the rim. It was just horrendous. If we could see it one more time, KD gets blocked by Brook Lopez, but they get the rebound and give it back. That was Jeff Green kicking it for a wide open 3. By the way, speaking of Jeff Green, who scored 27 points in Game 5, he took no shots on Saturday night. No shots and scored no points.
But Skip, here's the thing. Look how little he played. What is Steve Nash thinking about?
I don't know. He played 13 minutes.
Thank you.
But you took no shots in 13 minutes? I have no idea how that happened.
Skip, the thing is that, first of all, Kevin Durant played the 3rd most minutes he'd ever played over 3 games, period, in his career. Remember that overtime series they went in 2014, but KD was 25. So you play in 48 minutes, you play in 40 minutes, you play in 53 minutes. And Skip, there were games during the season in which Kevin Durant and James Harden was logging a lot of minutes. And that was one series against Boston, Skip. Remember, he left them in, trying to send a message that they played 40 minutes when they didn't need to play 40 minutes.
Okay, I give you that. All right, so it comes down to this. In regulation, Kevin Durant goes for 40 points, 40 more points with 13 rebounds and 5 assists, and threw in another block shot because he was guarding Giannis much of the night.
Yeah.
He just said, I got him. I'm 7 feet tall. I can do this.
Right.
And that's in, obviously, the 48 minutes. And then we get to overtime.
He had 48 minutes. He had 48 points in 48 minutes.
Yes, correct. So the point was that, I'm sorry, I'm looking at Giannis's line. It's 48 points with 11 rebounds. That's right. And he had a block shot and a steal. Okay, so the point is we get to overtime, and Kevin Durant is clearly absolutely gassed.
No, Michael Jordan would never be gassed. Kobe Bryant would never be gassed. You told me superstars can't be gassed because I've said that about LeBron, and you said it can't be. So, no, that can't be an excuse. Try again.
I thought you thought that he was gassed last night. No,
Skip. But no, this ain't about what I said. I'm going by what you're the godfather of this. I take my cues from you. You said superstars can't get fatigued.
Yep.
So Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, and remember, we just had a topic last week, the greatest scorer of all time, Kevin Durant. So you can't use fatigue as an excuse because you never gave that excuse to LeBron James. The best player on the planet can't get tired. Go ahead.
He is the best player on the planet.
So he can't get tired.
48 more points. And he takes a shot at the end of regulation that's one of the great clutch shots in the history of professional basketball. And unfortunately, if we could see it one more time, he just doesn't quite get his toes beyond the three-point line. I thought it was game over. I thought when he shot it, it was good. And I'm celebrating until I see the video and
the official right on top of him.
Well, obviously, he got his toes right, just barely. It's not even an inch on the line. It's maybe a half inch of toe on the black line. Right. That's how close it was to you being cooked. Yeah. You're over, and he made the shot, and that's all he had left. And again, he was playing a very good team. He was playing 1-on-5 the whole night. You know it, and I know it.
But
he had no help from nobody.
Skip,
no help.
But Skip, hold on. When LeBron played against KD and he had that 51, 8, and 8, you didn't say that. You said he had him dead to right. So I don't want to hear that he's playing 105 because we've seen LeBron do that numerous times, and you never gave him that out.
Did he not shoot the shot and make the late clutch shot that LeBron rarely makes? Rarely.
The playoff says LeBron is the greatest clutch shooter in NBA history. That's what the playoff. That's what the numbers say, Skip.
Since LeBron entered the league, nobody has missed more late and close shots or free throws than LeBron James. So I don't know.
Well, who's entered the league at the same? Skip.
Who's played the most playoff minutes ever?
LeBron.
Oh, it's LeBron James.
But the numbers, Skip. You say you like numbers because when Pro Football Focus throws numbers out there, you love them. So I'm just giving you numbers. The numbers say LeBron James is the best clutch shooter in playoff history.
No.
That's what the numbers say.
They do not.
That's what the numbers say. The highest percentage of clutch shots, game time or to take the lead.
Don't get me started on how many times he has passed up a late shot or getting fouled a la Ben Simmons because I don't want to have to go shoot those free throws. He's actually a worse late game free throw shooter than Ben Simmons
Stop doing that, Skip.
Well, he just is.
No, this ain't about Ben Simmons. This is about Kevin Durant.
It's about LeBron James.
No.
You're the one who started on LeBron James.
Your guy didn't get it done. Your guy had a 2-0 lead.
He is the best player on the planet because you saw Game 5. Nobody could have kept this team in this series because I don't even know what they're doing. Why don't you play DeAndre Jordan against Giannis a little bit? Just a little bit to bother him.
They didn't play Claxton. They didn't play anybody, Skip.
They didn't play anybody. They went small as you can go.
It doesn't matter, Skip. If you got the best player on the planet, they could have trotted out Caruso or whomever or James. It does not matter. That's what you keep telling me about LeBron. I'm telling you about JR. I'm telling you about Dellavedova. I'm telling you about Mozgov. You said that he's the best player on the planet. He's got to win. Kevin Durant is the best player on the planet with a 2-0 lead has got to bring it home, and he got Game 7 on his home court.
He gave you 2 virtuosos, 2 all-timers in Game 5 and Game 7.
Skip.
And he made one of the great clutch shots ever. And unfortunately, it only tied because he barely had his tippy toes on the black.
Hold on.
If it's just a quarter of an inch back, even if it looks like they're raised up above the black, you're done.
Skip. We saw LeBron James average a triple-double for the entirety of the finals. And you said it was no good.
This wasn't about LeBron James.
No.
That's what you said.
No. We saw LeBron average a triple-double, and you said it didn't matter. Kevin Durant had 2 historic games. It shouldn't matter. He lost. That's what everybody tells me. LeBron lost. It doesn't matter what he does. Your guy, the best player on the planet, had a 2-0 lead. Forget everything else. He had a 2-0 lead, and he lost it.
Here's Kevin Durant's numbers for 7 games against one of the best defensive teams in professional basketball, a team in Milwaukee that is heavily favored to beat Atlanta, which I'm sure it will because it's just better than the Atlanta Hawks are. That team, going 1-on-5 with KD, he goes 35, 11, and 5 in those 7 games. 35, 11, and 5 assists, with 2 steals a game and a block a game. That's best player on the planet.
Skip,
I've never seen anything quite like it. There's nothing like it.
I have. Skip, I saw LeBron James average 36, 13, and 9. I've seen him do that against the Golden State Warriors, who was higher-rated defensively at the time than the Milwaukee Bucks. I saw him do it against Toronto. I saw LeBron James average 34, 8, and 8, not for a series, the entire playoffs, and you never gave him credit.
Talking about 2015? I did give him credit. It's the best. I've told you 1,000 times the first 3 games are the best I've ever seen him play. And we get to Game 4 in his house. And just because they put Iguodala on him, he just shrinks. And he goes 7 of 22.
Kevin Durant shrunk.
5 of 10.
Kevin Durant shrunk.
LeBron goes 5 of 10 from the free throw line in that Game 4 in 2015 in his house.
Think about it.
How can you do that and they get blown off the floor?
36, 13, and 9. He shrunk, but Kevin Durant stood tall. So think about what you just said, Skip Bayless. You said LeBron James shrunk with a 2-1 lead. Your guy had a 2-0 lead.
Well, it went home and home because Milwaukee's really good at home.
Okay, what happened in Game 7 on your court? That's what I need you to tell me. Now, don't mention Jeff Green played 13 minutes and didn't take a shot. I don't want to hear anything about else. Talk about your guy not bringing it home.
48 points happened in regulation, and a great clutch shot happened at the end of regulation, and it's all he had left. It's all he had left. He had played every single minute. Wait, help me out. Has LeBron ever played a whole playoff game of every single minute?
Yes.
Including overtime?
You know, actually, what Kevin Durant did that last last Tuesday when he played every single minute,
Yep.
LeBron James did that in the conference finals against the Boston Celtics. Every single minute. Got a triple-double. But I don't want to talk about him. I'm talking about your guy. I got
That's all you're talking about is LeBron James.
I told you.
Shannon, I'm sorry. I wish I could help getting back in the playoffs for you, but I can't.
Well, can you get Kevin?
He's look on.
Let me ask you a question. Can you get KD back in the playoffs?
Nope.
Why
I cannot.
not?
Because he barely tippy-toed on the line. That's all.
About no barely.
Tippy-toed.
Yes, you told me.
Did the ball go in?
Yep.
Did you not sit back and say the best player did it again?
I remember in that very game when LeBron had 51, 8, and 8. He had 49 points at the end of regulation. And you said he didn't do anything. Now, I want you to tell me, how many points did Kevin Durant have at the end of regulation, and how many points did he end with? And tell me why he didn't add to that total. Go.
He hit the wall. He'd been playing every minute of every game and having to do everything, including guarding Giannis. Guarding Giannis.
Skip, hold on. Let me get.
Let's get this in perspective. This is the same Kevin Durant who in back-to-back years in game 3s at LeBron's house just beat the hell out of him. Just shot it right in his face.
It's
in game
amazing.
3. And guess what? Kevin Durant won the MVP of both those series.
Yeah, but you see the difference? You see the difference when KD won MVP and he got Steph Curry averaging 28 and he got Klay Thompson averaging 22 and he got Draymond Green running everything. So, I'm not talking about what he did with Steph.
Why did that whole team fly out to the Hamptons on July the 3rd to try to recruit Kevin Durant on July the 4th to come save us? Why do you keep bringing up that Draymond ran into the parking lot, fled in the parking lot crying, calling Kevin Durant, you got to come save us?
Because everything I say is true. They did go search him out. They did. But guess what? He joined them because they could offer something that he could not get without them. Until he does it, everybody's still going to say Kevin Durant needed a super team. That's factual. So now I need you to tell me again. Now, I don't want to hear anything about the best player being tired because that is concessions that you've never made for any other great player. You said Kobe. You said Jordan never get tired. LeBron James as the best player can't get tired. Why are you making these concessions?
Game 4, 2015. All I heard on ESPN all day long the day after was, LeBron just got too tired.
No,
that's all I heard.
You.
No,
I don't know. This is you. I don't know what was heard. As a matter of fact, my TV went out that day. The day you talking about, my TV went out, so I didn't hear what they said.
Okay.
I heard what you said before it went out. Now I want to talk about you. The fatigue. Why does Kevin Durant get an opportunity to get fatigued when no other great historic, Kobe, Michael, and LeBron, never got that? Why does he get it?
He just hit the wall because he had to do it for 3 straight games, play every minute for 3 straight games, and they're coming every other night, and he hit the wall because he thought, I got this with my clutch shot, and that was all he had left. And he might need just a touch of help, and the Bucks weren't much better in the overtime, were they? But Giannis kind of lucked in a little shot, a little in the lane.
Over KD?
Yeah, he just lucked it in. It bounced all around the rim and accidentally fell in.
If you don't mind me asking, Skip, is this a new playoff format where they play playoff games every other day, or have they been doing this for the longest time?
Well, I don't know. When LeBron was in the finals, it seemed like they'd get 8 days off.
Don't do that, Skip. Don't do that, Skip. Don't do Skip. That's so unbecoming.
Guys, I saw this story circulating on social media. It might make you crazy, Skip. Apparently, Kevin Durant does wear a full size bigger on the court to achieve that feather-like feeling. That was a story from Chris Harry a couple of years ago. He wears one size bigger, guys. If he hadn't been wearing that size shoe, maybe the entire game would have looked
He liked to be comfortable.
Yeah, but that's a crazy thought. That much of a difference. I don't know if that helps or hurts us, but I thought that was really interesting.
Oh, would he?
LeBron would have I want to talk about Devin Booker because, guys, we need to pay attention. He didn't waste any time against the Clippers as he did it all with a 40-point triple-double in Game 1 of the Western Conference Finals. Paul George led the way for a scrappy LA team with 34 points, but Phoenix was too hot as they won 120-114. The Clippers will direct their energy to Game 2 as they look to even the series. So, Shannon, was Booker the biggest reason the Clippers lost Game 1 here?
Yeah, Skip, he was sensational. And he was asked to do something that he doesn't normally do. And I did hear him say this, Skip, because I wanted to hear what he had to say, about his performance, because we know what he thinks of Kobe. And he was talking about after the game, he said, I needed to do what I normally do, but I had to get other people involved. He said, I'm a scorer. He said, CP normally has all that other stuff, and I just go out there and do my thing. Well, this was an opportunity. I still needed to do my thing, but I needed to make sure everybody else could do their thing also, Skip. There's only 4 guys that's had the 40-point triple-double in the conference final or the divisional round of the playoffs. He's one of the 4. So that just goes to show you the magnitude, Skip. And he's growing. He's growing right before our eyes. He wants his respect because he's like, hold on, I ain't making no All-NBA team. Y'all be shortchanging me when it comes to All-Star. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to bust y'all, you know what, when I get in these playoffs and now moving forward, when y'all vote for these All-Star and All-NBA teams, don't forget what I did to your favorite player. Your favorite player's favorite player, I tore his butt up too. So moving forward, Skip, I don't think Devin Booker is going to have a problem making an All-Star team. I don't think he's going to have a problem making an All-NBA team, considering what he's doing in these playoffs, Skip. And if you look at the second half, Skip, he went 11-6-5 in the fourth quarter, 29-7-8 in the second half. That's where you want your superstars. That's where you want when you really become iconic, you want to become legendary. It's not the regular season. You got to play good in these games, in these moments. In every moment that they've asked Devin Booker to play big, Skip, he's played bigger than even what they've asked for. And for Chris Paul not to be there, and for him to take on initiating the offense role, now Cameron Payne was sensational too. Don't take anything away from him. This is a very well-coached team. They got guys with hey, I'm good with where I am. I ain't trying to be this. I ain't trying to be that. Let's just whatever I can do to help this team get better, Skip. He was sensational. But you still believe in playoff P? He had 1 point in the fourth quarter. Now, I know you was excited, and maybe you didn't watch, but I want people to go back and look at that game closely on Friday night.
Ooh, thank you. I'm glad you brought that up.
Look at the game when the game was getting out of hand. And Paul George was nowhere to be found.
Really?
The moment Terrence Mann and Reggie Jackson started raining threes and everything got close, Paul George said, hey, you see me too? But when the thing was getting away from him, Paul George wasn't to be found. He front running. Just like yesterday, he came up small, mini-me, this big. 1 point. You played, how many minutes did he play, Skip, in the fourth quarter? And he only gave you 1 point, and that was a free throw, a technical free throw that he shouldn't have called.
How did Paul George score 10 in the fourth quarter on Friday night? I don't know. Maybe I got to get a new TV.
Skip.
10?
Let me ask you a question.
Really?
Skip, if Terrence Mann does not go out of his mind.
Sure, that helped.
Starting
in the third quarter.
Paul George helped.
They were 25 points down in the third quarter. 25 down.
And what did he do in the third?
You don't think this team's got grit and guts?
Let me ask you a question. What did Paul George do in the third quarter? What did Terrence Mann do in the third quarter? There's the difference.
They've been doing it all year. It's who's tonight's hero. It can be Reggie Jackson. It can be Marcus Morris, who it was on Friday night. It can be all of them because they're a really deep, talented basketball team.
They are.
And Paul George scored 10 in the fourth quarter and brought them home to the biggest playoff comeback ever. 25 points in the third quarter, and they're the first team ever to go down 0-2 in back-to-back playoff series in the same playoff run and survive and live to tell about it. And in this one, they did it in 6 games.
They scored 41 points in the third quarter. Terrence Mann had 20. Reggie Jackson had 14. So that's 34. Paul George was 1 for 3. And the 2 of those came from the free throw, 2 of his points. So that's 4 points.
And then who took over in the fourth? Paul George had 10.
Took over?
Well, he had 10 points in the fourth. Is that good?
Reggie Jackson had 8.
Yeah.
Terrence Mann had 5.
Okay, who was the leading scorer for the Clippers in the fourth, Shannon Sharpe? I think it was playoff P.
Actually, it was Patrick Beverly.
Who should completely be playoff P. Yeah, Patrick Beverly hit 3 threes. That is correct. But 10 points. So here's what playoff P averaged in that series before I answer the question about yesterday. He averaged 29, 10, and 5. Are you kidding me? And his fourth quarters went like this: 13, 10, 6, 9, 7, and 10. He averaged 9 points a fourth quarter in those 6 games. That is playoff P, underscored. There's no more pandemic P.
Yes,
I'll take it.
So what was he yesterday? What was he yesterday?
Well, they lost yesterday.
No. What was Paul George in
First of all, here's the point. At the end of the third quarter, he went on a rampage unlike any that you'll see in the National Basketball Association, because Paul George is supremely gifted.
Yes.
At 6'8", he can shoot the lights out.
Silky smooth.
It is silky. And he scored 14 points in the last 6 minutes of the third quarter to draw them even going to the fourth quarter. And then what did Ty Lue do? Well, what was absurdly unfair about yesterday, which obviously you did not bring up, was the fact that the Clippers broke through and won a Game 6 at home against a favored Utah. Utah was favored to win that game. They broke through and became the first Clippers team in their 51-year history to make it to the conference finals. And they suddenly look up after the game and say, wait a second. We have to play on the road in a day and a half. We have to fly to Phoenix and play in a day and a half against a Phoenix that's been resting for 7 days. It's outrageously unfair. You're up against it. You're almost certainly going to lose that game. And they finally did. But it wasn't until they hung on and took it to the last drop. Now, I'm going to give you Devin Booker because he was sensational, beating whatever defender they threw at him or shredding the double teams when they blitzed him. He would find the open man.
He did.
And Phoenix hit a lot of open shots.
They hit a lot of big shots.
But they didn't hit a lot of threes because my Clippers made 20 threes yesterday and outscored Phoenix at Phoenix by 21 points from the three-point line. That's usually good enough to get you over the hump. But guess what? What do I always tell you? Weirdly, the Clippers seem to go as Marcus Morris Sr. goes. What happened to Marcus Morris Sr. yesterday? He goes 0 of 5 from 3. They still hit 20, but he went 0 of 5, and he's now got a knee issue that kept him out of the game late in the game when I needed him the most. Now, let's get back to what Devin Booker could not do. If we look hard at the fourth quarter and people just hysterically overreact to these playoff games, Devin Booker, I heard some clown on another network say, one of the great playoff games ever played. Really? Well, let's check this out, shall we? I got a tape I'm going to show you, Mr. Sharpe. I got tape today, too. Who knew? These are 5 shots that he missed from the 9-minute mark. There's the first one. This is Devin Booker in the fourth quarter. From 9 minutes down to 20 seconds. There's number 2. Ooh, he missed that one bad. Almost an air ball wide left. Here's the third one on Reggie Jackson. Ooh, that missed badly left. Here's the fourth one, and he goes up on Terrence Mann, and that's an air ball. That hit the top of the basket. And then here he goes again on Reggie Jackson, and clank, back iron. 5 straight shots Devin Booker had missed down to the 20-second mark, which opened the door for the Clippers to come through it. Walking through the door, I should say, bolting through the door, was somebody named Rondo. I don't know whatever happened to him because he DNP'd a couple of games against Utah. In one game, if I go back 3 games ago, he didn't even dress. And yesterday, he played more minutes than the guy who led them, Patrick Beverley, in the fourth quarter, as you pointed out, on Friday night.
Right.
He actually played more minutes yesterday, and I'm not exactly sure why, but playoff Rondo came back and played 22 minutes to Patrick Beverley's 15 minutes. Woo, really? So Rondo makes a driving basket and 2 threes in the fourth quarter, and that was the propulsion that got them back in the game. Okay. And Rondo stays in the game, and I'm guessing that Ty Lue wants to get him back in game shape because he wants Rondo versus Chris Paul when Chris Paul returns, and it could be next game. Because Rondo seems to irritate and annoy Chris Paul because they do not like each other.
Skip, I'm confused. You talked about the great fourth quarter that Paul George had on Friday night where he had 10 points. And you showed shots of Devin Booker missing, but you failed to mention that Devin Booker had 11 points, 6 rebounds, and 5 assists in the fourth quarter.
Okay, well, he had them early and then late, and I'm about to get to why he had them late. 20 seconds left. The Clippers have cut it to 2 at Phoenix. And I'm saying we got this because we got all the momentum because I had tweeted late second quarter. Go look at my timeline. Devin Booker will cool off. And he did. He not only cooled off, he went flat out cold. I just showed you 5 straight misses. He did make 2 free throws in the middle of them, but 5 straight missed jump shots, and they weren't even close. And now we get to the play of the game. An side out of bounds play on Phoenix's end of the court. If we could see this, please. Devin Booker gets completely free for a dunk. How do you do that? I want to show it again. Look at this. So I wish we could freeze this, but here's the point. Terrence Mann has him face to face to start this formation, if you will, this set. And all of a sudden, at the inbounds, as it starts to be thrown in, Terrence Mann goes backwards as Devin Booker bolts across the top of the set. Rondo is actually facing the basket, which I've never seen anybody face the basket because shouldn't you be like in between your man that you're guarding in the basket? It's like they're playing some weird zone, except Rondo lets him run right by and go for a dunk. A dunk! It's wide open. You can't do it. You're going to lose. That's the game.
Skip, he thought he was going to go to the backcourt. You know how everybody jets to the backcourt.
But it's weird Rondo stuff where he says, I'm going to trick you.
Right.
I'm going to actually stand back here and play center field face facing your basket.
Right.
And all of a sudden, Devin Booker says, seriously, I'll just keep cutting underneath. And he loops around the set and just goes underneath for a wide open dunk. And why Terrence Mann didn't run with him, I don't know.
Can I ask you a question?
I don't know. How can you, answer me that question. Show me why. Show me how.
Rondo normally, he's trying to outsmart them. He says, I know you guys are going to try to throw this ball to the backcourt, and so I'm going to jump. But what Devin Booker, to his credit, is like, you know what? I'm going to roll to the basket. Nobody was there. And in a situation like that, Skip, you got to have somebody playing off just in case somebody does dart towards the basket.
So, listen, Terrence Mann is one of the best defenders they have, especially on Devin Booker, who's 6'5". Well, Terrence Mann is also 6'5", and he's long, and he's strong, and he is extreme energy and commitment to playing defense. So, to me, I don't know why you don't just run with him.
Right.
Just go with him. You're face up with him. Just stay with him.
I think
he dropped back into like a zone.
Right, and they were switching, and Rondo, he came in Rondo's zone, so now all of a sudden he's Rondo's guy.
Except Rondo's not facing up. He's got his back to the play. Like, what are you doing?
But I believe Rondo thought that because Skip, everybody do it. They throw the ball to the backcourt. You chase me down. I'm gonna run like 3 or 4 seconds off the clock before you foul me. I come to the free throw line, make the free throws, but I did run some time off the clock.
Okay.
But if you look at Book, what Book does, he darts like he's about to go to the back. He's like, nope, I'm going this way. And it's too late for them to react. Because everybody else has their back. Everybody else is face guarding their man also.
Okay, so this is classic Clippers. They've had plays like this against Dallas. They had plays like this against Utah. But I loved what Ty Lue said after the game. We went through this with Luka in the first round. We went through this with Donovan Mitchell in the second round, where they are literally unguardable and unstoppable. But as he said, we adjust. We figure it out. And slowly but surely, Luka and Donovan and Jordan Clarkson became guardable and stoppable as the series wore on.
At some point in time, Skip, it's not going to come down to your superstars. And as you talk about, Kevin Durant did everything he possibly could. Or you look at at some point in time, Skip, you're going to have somebody, one of your role players, to come along with you. So if you start taking away Book away, Crowder, Bridges, DeAndre Ayton, who played really well yesterday, Skip, if you think about what they're doing, you see how high they set that screen out? And so now the guys are having to go under it, and then Devin Booker. See, Devin Booker is not a great three-point shooter.
No.
He's getting to that mid-range. And he gets to the mid-range, Skip, he's deadly.
Okay, so why is Rondo playing him to be out in three-point land? Like, I don't get it. I just don't. I know that Rondo is brilliant, like he's got genius to him, and it's like mad genius, but I'm saying I don't get that one. I can't see what you thought. You thought you could steal it somehow.
Yes, he was going to try to do that. Y'all throw this to the backcourt.
Okay.
I'm going to pretend like I don't know what y'all going to do, and then I'm going to get this ball.
Okay, so in the end, I believe they will adjust for the next game. They're 6-point underdogs, and if you tell me Marcus Morris Sr. now has a bad knee, obviously Kawhi's gone for the rest of the playoffs, then I'm in big trouble.
But Skip, you tweeted that Devin Booker was going to cool off. Mm-hmm. You didn't tweet that Paul George was going to cool off? Mm-mm. Because he went 0 for 5 and 0 for 3 from the three. Did he cool? He was frozen.
Well, he wasn't frozen. Okay, what did I tell you? I think Ty Lue made a mistake because he thought, remember, Paul George has played the most minutes of anybody in the entire playoffs.
Yeah.
So he thinks to start the fourth quarter, I have to rest him. He was on fire. He had scored 14 in the last 6 minutes of the third quarter, and you sat him for the first 3.5 minutes of the fourth, and guess what happened? Predictably, they fell behind by 8. Well, you're digging up out of a hole that's hard to dig out.
But y'all came back. Y'all came all the way back, and I think y'all took the lead briefly for a second.
Yep.
So know that you can't use that as an excuse. Okay. Your guy didn't come through, Skip. He had 1 point.
I'm just happy we got playoff P. That's all.
Okay, y'all keep it.
Mm-hmm. Playoff P, I like that nickname much
You've been
better.
Saying that for
no mercy.
Ben Simmons and the 76ers were dealt a huge blow by the Hawks as they lost Game 7, 103-96. The fifth-year player struggled with just 5 points as he passed up easy looks at the rim time after time. And after the game, Simmons said, quote, offensively, I wasn't there. I didn't do enough for my teammates. There's a lot of things that I need to work on. Yeah, I agree. Fox Sports NBA analyst Chris Broussard joins us now. Chris, is it time for the Sixers to trade Ben Simmons here?
Yes. Now, I wouldn't just give him away. Mm-hmm. You know, if I can't get a good deal for him, I wouldn't trade him. While I'm shopping him, I would have him in the gym with a shooting coach. If he hasn't already seen a sports psychologist, I'm trying to get him to see one of those. He even admitted after the game that his mentality and that needs to change. He needs to be mentally tougher. So I would be shopping Ben Simmons. Before I even get to just the problems with his game, the inability to make free throws, the fear of shooting outside shots, and now apparently layups at the rim, his coach, Doc Rivers, said after the game yesterday, when he was asked, can you win a championship with Ben Simmons as the point guard? And Doc said, I don't know. And I get that. That was honest. Doc was being honest. But in that moment, you probably need to say, oh, yes, Ben, just like he's been saying all year, he does this, he does that. We need to work on the shooting, but Ben is a great point guard. We can win with him. Do it like that. Then beyond that, his co-star or the best player on the team, Joel Embiid, he says basically that Ben's refusal to shoot that layup that we just showed, and he passed it to Matisse Thybulle, was the turning point of the game. Now, obviously, Embiid had his own mistakes with the turnovers, but he basically put it on Ben. So now I'm saying, beyond just the problems Ben's game presents, you've got the head coach and the best player on the team saying, we can't really win with them. And then when Embiid was asked, do you want to run it back? He was non-committal. Like, I don't know. We got to see. So they basically said we need some changes. Now, let me say this. I do think that there are teams that can build around Ben Simmons, or there's a way to build around him similar to how Milwaukee's built around Giannis. Like, Ben can push it in transition. He's a great passer. We all know that. I would put 4 shooters around him. And when we're in the half court and we're not in early offense, I've got him down low on the block. He's 6'10" after all. And he can post, he can score down low if he can get his confidence back. So I think you can build around him, but it's hard to have him when you've got another post player like Embiid, because one of them has to go outside. And that's one reason Embiid is out at the three-point line a lot or on the perimeter, because you have to put Ben near the basket or the other team won't guard him. And so you have to find the right team. It's going to be tough. You won't get as sexy a name back. But, C.J. McCollum is out there. There are rumblings about that. I'd probably like a little more if I'm Philly, but C.J. can play. If he was in the East all his career, he probably would have made an all-star team or two. Malcolm Brogdon in Indiana, I think that's something to look at. So it won't be easy, but I do think at this moment in time, it is now time to move on from Ben Simmons.
Well, if you trade Ben Simmons for C.J. McCollum, Dame Lillard is definitely leaving Portland. So you must be wanting Dame out of Portland, because if you bring Ben Simmons, Dame said y'all ain't trying to get better. But back to our originally scheduled program, I agree with you, and I told Chris to start I told Skip to start the show that I would move Ben Simmons. It just isn't working. When your second best player in the final minutes of a ball game becomes unplayable on the offensive end, and he's the point guard. Skip, you made a mistake. In this series, Ben Simmons averaged 9 points, 6 rebounds, 9 assists.
I gave you this year's regular season.
Oh, okay.
14, 7, and 7.
Okay,
yeah.
But Skip, he was below that in the playoffs, and he had 19 points over his final 3 games. Joel Embiid has a small window, Skip. You need to maximize that. That's what you got to think about. Okay, what's the best situation for my best player? Is going along, having Ben Simmons here another year, 2-3 years, is this the best way I can maximize Joel Embiid? I don't believe it is. Chris, I believe there's a difference between can't shoot and being afraid to shoot. Because if you can't shoot, you work on it, you maybe can improve it. But when you become afraid, you become paralyzed. So now, as you was talking about, Kevin Durant was playing 1-on-5, guess what? The other team is playing 5-on-4. And that's what's happening with Ben. There is no way at 6'10" you should pass a ball to a cutting guy when you can dunk it. And he says, well, I thought Gallinari was going to be on my back. Dunk Gallinari in the basket. I don't see how. Now, Skip, since they lost to Toronto in the finals, the Eastern Conference Finals, Skip, they hadn't come close. I mean, you had the #1 record in the East. You had everything that you wanted. The East was going to have to come through Philly. And you lost to a 5 seed. You lost games 1, 5, and 7 on your home court. And you mentioned the record, what were they, 61-9 over the last 2 years? And with both of those. No, Skip. It's at some point in time, Skip, you say, you know what? Hey, man, I just got to cut my losses. And I understand. Sometimes you invest a lot into something, but you just got to say, you know what? I'm just throwing good money after bad. And if you keep running it back, Skip, you're just throwing good after bad.
And I say both of you are being classic prisoners of moment. It's easy to overreact now because I will give you this. The Demons got Ben Simmons over the last 5 or 6 games. It got to the point he froze up so much, he ran from the free throw line and from the basket. Yes. He didn't want to shoot anything. He wouldn't even dunk last night. It was shocking. It was pathetic. It was actually sad that a man 6 feet 11 inches tall and 240 pounds would not even attempt to dunk over a tiny Trae Young. I've never seen anything like that before. But that it came to that. But I also would say I'm very disappointed in Joel Embiid. I'm his biggest fan. Doc, I'm an even bigger fan. They threw Ben under the bus and blame deflected after the game because, as Chris Broussard is
Who's
often...
driving the bus?
Well,
Who's driving the bus,
Doc
Joel
is
or
driving.
Doc?
Well, Doc's driving. And as Chris has often pointed out, Doc has a long and bloody history of blowing playoff leads. And in Game 4, they had an 18-point lead. In Game 5, they had a 26-point lead. What?
6-20.
And... last night, they got to Game 7, and they had chances until late, and Joel Embiid had 8 turnovers and had a terrible one late in which he let Gallinari pick his pocket and go the other way for a dunk that just ended the game.
That was the game.
Okay, so you can't completely blame Ben Simmons for this. Now let's get to the point of should they trade him. Ben Simmons is 24 years old. He has made 3 straight all-star teams. He's made 2 straight first-team all-defensive teams. And we just saw him against Trae Young go 7 games and hold Trae Young, not that he had him the whole time, but he had him much of the time. He held Trae Young to 39% shooting from the field, 32% shooting from 3. Both pathetic numbers by superstar standards. And it was because a first-team all-defensive player who's 6'11", long and quick and shrewd just put the clamps on little Trae and made it really hard on him to get by or get open from distance. So the point is, you're ready to throw all that out after this team led the East in record. Number one, this is the top seed in the East. And this was a team that was up 2-1 on Atlanta and had those 2 big leads.
Right.
They showed you again and again and again. They would flex and you'd say, oh, well, obviously, Philly's just better than Atlanta. And suddenly, it's all Ben Simmons' fault. Well, if he'd never been able to shoot free throws, I would give it up to you. But I look back at his playoff record, and I see that in his first-round playoff series against Miami in 2018, he made 25 of 35 free throws. Well, that'll work. That's 71%. You'd say, okay, I can live with that. The next round, they lost to the Celtics in the next round, but he shot 70%, 16 of 23. You say, okay, I can live with that. And then we go to 2019, and he was 14 of 24 against Brooklyn in that first round series, and then against the next round was the Raptors you're talking about, and he shot 9 of 16, which is it dropped to 58 and 56%. You could still barely live with that.
But now
then we get to Washington, and he falls clear down to 36%, 10 of 28, and now the Demons got him, and here comes Atlanta, and they start hack him in.
Skipper, he dropped 35%.
He did, and he dropped all the way to 33% for this series.
Oh, so that's 38%.
I got it. And it got to the point where in the fourth quarters against Atlanta, he just wouldn't even shoot a shot because he was afraid to go to the free throw line. And yet it's in the fourth quarters against Atlanta, the 7 fourth quarters, he was 9 of 20. Well, it's not like 2 of 20, right?
Skip.
He almost made 50%.
But Skip, if you look at it, he had 0 shots in his last 4 quarters. He had 1 shot in his last 6 4 quarters.
Clearly.
Chris, how you gonna win with that when the guy won't shoot the ball and the team is playing 5-on-4?
Right. Well, Skip, you said Shannon and I are prisoners of the moment. The moment's been 4 years.
Yes.
This is the last 4 years. And look, you brought up the free throw stats. That's not even my biggest concern because I do think he'll get back to at least being the poor free throw shooter he was before. What did he shoot this year? 60%?
61.3. Yeah.
I think he can get 61. Yeah, he can get back to that. That's still bad. That's horrible for my point guard, but he can get back to that. My bigger issue is his absolute refusal to shoot a jump shot. That's my biggest issue with him. And Ben, every offseason, it's the same story. Get in the gym, get in the gym, get in the gym. A lot of people tell you he hadn't worked hard enough on it. I like that I heard him after the game finally really take responsibility and say, maybe this is that moment, right? Where he's finally hit rock bottom. He's getting destroyed publicly, that he'll really put in the work. But it's a problem that it took this long. If indeed he's gotten to that point, why did it take this long? Just your competitive nature should have made you get better from a jump shooting perspective and be willing to take them in games. Even if you miss, I just need you to take them and be somewhat of a threat.
But see, that's the thing. But you know what? You're talking about the problem. Well, that's going to be somebody else's problem now. I'm going to let Philly try to solve this Rubik's Cube. I'm going to let them try to solve this 10,000-piece jigsaw puzzle. I'm done with it. I've seen enough. So now it's time. I believe Malcolm Brogdon with Ben Simmons would be better for the Sixers than Joel Embiid.
Well, why not a pure point? Why not?
Brogdon is.
Like a Kyle Lowry, who's a 6'2". Or a Rondo-esque.
Yeah,
somebody who can just run the show.
Yeah. Both of Brogdon and Lowry would be better for the Sixers.
I mean, Brogdon I see as more of a shooter scorer than a pure point.
But he was, remember, Skip, he was sensational in Milwaukee. He had an unbelievable season for Indy.
I love it.
And put him with Ben Simmons where you can run the pick and roll. But, Skip, I've seen enough from Ben Simmons. I'm not saying that he's not a good player. But the question is, can you win a championship where your point guard is shooting 30% from the free throw line, and he absolutely is so afraid, terrified, petrified of actually even shooting the ball?
How did he make 3 straight All-Star teams? Seriously.
But Skip, that should even be more telling. A guy is a 3-time All-Star player, and he's afraid to shoot the ball in the playoffs. So how do I get out of that?
You know the old saying about throw the baby out with the bathwater, right?
Well, it all depends on what kind of baby it is.
24-year-old baby? I don't know.
What kind of baby is it? If it's a baby rattlesnake, he got to go. If it's a baby grizzly bear, he got to go too.
You start to question it. And how many chances and opportunities do you get? And that's not a good way to end for Ben Simmons. We're going to have to figure that one out.
No mercy.
All right, Giannis scored 40 points in a duel versus Kevin Durant in a Game 7 thriller Saturday between the Bucks and Nets. KD finished with 48 points and sent the game to overtime after hitting a big shot at the end of regulation. But Giannis showed up big in overtime, while KD's luck ran out in the extra period as he would go on to airball on his game-tying attempt, securing the win for Milwaukee. And, of course, Twitter was loving this game, including Rams quarterback Jalen Ramsey, who took a veiled shot at KD by posting, quote, "I ain't trying to start nothing up tonight, but LeBron used to run through that East with no problem." So, Shannon, were you talking to Jalen as he was tweeting there? Chris Broussard still here. How much blame does Durant deserve for the loss?
Well, I have to start here, Jen. If that was LeBron James, who went 0 for 6 in overtime and got posted up by Giannis with 1:15 left in overtime, great play by Giannis. I want to see more of that. Then despite playing a phenomenal game, I think a good friend of mine on this show, I'll let you guys figure out which one,
Shannon,
would be destroying LeBron. All of that 48 points, that 22-footer that could have won the game if it wasn't for his big toe being on the line, all of that would have been out the window. He would be getting killed. And I would be on here defending LeBron, and I'm going to defend KD. I think he deserves absolutely no blame. KD, the only reason they had a shot was Kevin Durant. He was awesome, and that shot that we all for a moment thought won the game. I know there's bigger shots, obviously more meaningful shots. They didn't even win. But just the skill, the spin move, it was one of the most beautiful shots I've seen in years. It was an awesome shot. I got to give KD major league credit. I mean, that is just incredible what he did. All right, there's blame to go elsewhere. If I have to put some blame on some Nets, and I want to give him, look, I can say Steve Nash for playing 7 guys, you know, guys who had really helped him in this run. Mike James, TLC, Landry Shamet played 7 minutes, like didn't get any burn. I could blame him a little bit for that. And I'm going to give him a little bit of a pass because of the hamstring. And it was a strain. Now he said after the game it was a grade 2 strain. So it's worse than we thought. So I'm going to give Harden a little bit of a pass. But he was 2 for 12 from 3. If he just hits one or two more threes, then they win the game. It doesn't even get to overtime. And I understand the hamstring. But when I look at Harden's history, I got to factor that in a little bit. In his last 8 elimination games, his record is 1-7. He has shot 18 for 76 from 3. This is one of the best shooters of the generation. And he is 24% from 3 in those 8 elimination games. Yesterday, he was 2 of 13 on open or wide open shots. That's 4 feet or more between you and the defender. 2 for 13. And then I could throw in Joe Harris. He was 3 for 8 on the same type of shot. So they're 2 of their best shooters just go cold. And I'll throw this in. At the end of the game, Kevin Durant was going 1 versus 5 or 1 versus 3. And James Harden he didn't even have, I get it, you're hurt, you can't be yourself. He didn't have the swag, he didn't have the poise, he didn't have the floor generalship of a star, let alone a superstar. He was just, let's get past half court, I'm handing it to KD or waiting for KD to make some great move and get free, and I'm going to go stand and watch. I get it, you're not yourself, but just give me the poise. Give me the leadership of the star that you are, that you did in the first 3 quarters. And that was absent, and because Drew Holiday and Chris Middleton, who were horrific in the first half, and Holiday through like the first 3.5 quarters, they stepped up and gave Giannis some help at the end, and that's why they prevailed. Nobody was helping KD. This wasn't even Luka or LeBron bringing it up going one-on-one. This was in half court, handed it to KD, and we're going to watch. And you just make magic. That's what it was. So I can't put this on KD one iota.
I mean, Brook Lopez did have 19 with 7 of 11 3 from. I
thought you said it was terrible.
No, Harris, this is what I knew you were in trouble, Skip. You look at the half.
Oh,
and
Griffin.
Drew Holiday and Middleton was 4 of 22, and you only got a 6-point lead. And you talk about Holiday didn't play well. Holiday shot 36% for the series. Holiday didn't play well at all. And if you look at Middleton's number, Middleton averaged 31 points a game at home. He averaged about 19 on the road. So this game was prime set up. Now, the only thing I'm going to say is this, Chris. I want to assess the same level of blame, the same level of criticism that Skip Bayless would assess any other superstar in this situation.
Wait, are you talking about LeBron James?
I don't know.
I just need to know.
Strike that for the record. I'm going to ask the judge objection because you keep trying to.
Dame.
Thank
you. He would do it to Dame. He would do it to Dame.
Yes.
Yeah.
All I'm saying is that LeBron James was never allowed to get tired, right, Chris? Kobe and Mike never got fatigued. You see what happens when they ask Kevin Durant to do what they've asked LeBron James to do for the entirety of his career in the playoffs, Chris, which is score, rebound, and assist. Blowed him. He had his historic game on Tuesday. He did do that, Skip. I'm not trying to deny that.
Virtuoso.
But guess what? But Chris, we needed it again. Now, Chris, what you didn't mention, the best player on the planet had a 2-0 lead. If LeBron James, the best player on the planet, got a 2-0 lead, what is Skip Bayless saying? What are all the LeBron haters saying?
What about a 2-1 lead in 2015 with Game 4 in your house?
What about?
How about it?
Hold on. He had a 2-0 lead. Let me ask you this. I know a man that had a 3-1 lead and had games coming back to his house. You remember that, Chris Broussard? He had a 3-1 lead, blew it. 2-0 lead, blew it. This is not a super team. I know you're trying to make that point that the Brooklyn Nets or Milwaukee Bucks. No, they're not. Giannis is a superstar personified ×2, MVP, Defensive Player of the Year. But that's not a super team. And J. Ram is right. Because see what you do.
J. Ram?
Yeah, J. Ram is absolutely right. Because what you do when you try to minimize LeBron, you say the East is weak. But when you want to maximize Kevin Durant, you say the East is powerful. All I know, there's a lot of injuries. He wouldn't have had it any better. He had an opportunity to go to the NBA Finals, and all he had to do was to get through the Atlanta Hawks. And he's not going to be around. So where's KD? Where you at?
Maybe he's with Lagon.
Yeah.
Maybe they're going to take a vacation
And you
together.
know what?
I don't know.
We holding that boat for another 10 days because somebody else is going to be joining us too.
Who's that?
You know who it is.
Little Maestro? Okay. Mr. Ramsey, as in Jalen Ramsey, small bones to pick with you. Yeah, LeBron cakewalked through the East back in the days of what this man called the baby dinosaurs. Remember that?
Oh, that.
Remember when George Paul was the solo star of Indiana and he kept running up against LeBron and D. Wade and Chris Bosh? Remember those days? Yeah, I remember those days.
Don't do that, Skip.
Remember when LeBron was up because he hit the shot heard round the world on the Orlando Magic in 2009? Remember that game? And what happened after that? I can't remember, but they were gone in 6 games. And then how about his final game, his first go-round in Boston? Actually, his final 3 games, it was 2010. His owner, Jalen Ramsey, accused him of quitting in games 4, 5, and 6 against the Celtics in 2010. Look it up. So I don't know. He used to just run through these. I don't know.
What would Clay Bennett say? Is he on OKC?
Yeah. What
would he say about KD? What would he say about KD if you put true serum in him? After what happened, that 3-1 lead? Chris, what do you think he would say? After you blow a 3-1 lead and you go join the team that came back on you with a 3-1 lead. He would say
Kevin was right. He could never win a championship with Russell Westbrook as his primary decision maker.
It's always somebody else's fault.
Yep.
I knew that you said that.
And then Kevin went in because they begged him to come and save them in Golden State.
They saved him too.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, all he did was take over games 3 back-to-back years and won Finals MVP in both those years to prove then, once and for all, best player on the planet.
He had an opportunity to do it right there.
What about Game 5 this year and Game 7 that I watched with my own 2 eyes on Saturday night? It was absolutely clear as day at nighttime that he is the best player on the planet, and it ain't even close anymore.
What happened to Games 3 and 4?
I'm sorry what happened to LeBron.
What happened to Games 3 and 4?
Milwaukee is really good. One of the top 3 defensive teams in basketball. And who is Kevin Durant's nemesis defender? It's the guy who went to his school, P.J. Tucker, who went to the University of Texas ahead of Kevin Durant. He just plays his tail off against Kevin. I thought he fought his guts out on Saturday night. And all Kevin did was in the first 48 minutes go for 48 points against P.J. Tucker. And all he did was go, as Chris aptly pointed out, and I tried to explain to this man to open this show, he went 1-on-5 the whole night. James Harden was a pathetic shell of himself, a cardboard cutout, just like CP3 turns into in the State Farm commercials. One that you could blow on and he would fall over. I started calling him Logo James because all he could do is not shoot from the logo. All he did was dribble on the logo, dribble, 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 and then hold the ball and look for Kevin so he could loop some dangerous pass to him so that Kevin could look up at the shot clock and say, my God, I got 5 seconds left. I got to create on P.J. Tucker. I'll go left, I'll go right, I'll spin, I'll fall away, and I'll make another basket. He was extraordinary, and he guarded Giannis at the other end, and yep, he hit the wall. He finally, playing every minute the last 3 games, he finally just hit the wall in overtime and had no lift left. And he finally shot an air ball on Drew Holiday to end the game because he had no legs left.
Chris, How many times have you done a show with Skip Bayless and somebody has mentioned fatigue with LeBron James and you said you can't use that? Great players, Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant never got tired. You can't use fatigue. How many times have we heard him say it? When LeBron had 51, 8, and 8, that game one, and many people say that was the greatest game I've ever seen him play. I said, Skip, he was dog tired. He can't get tired.
Chris will remember this. All I heard on ESPN in 2015 at the finals, I was there. Game 4, LeBron had played the greatest 3 games of his stretch of his career. I always give you this. Those 3 games when he obviously had lost Kevin Love going into Game 1 and lost Kyrie in overtime of Game 1 at Oracle, LeBron was just, he was on some other planet. He was the best player on some other planet for 3 games. Then all of a sudden he's got Game 4 in his house. They're up 2-1, and I'm thinking this is going to be the greatest achievement of LeBron's career. And what happened? Nothing happened. All I heard the next day was he wore out. He wore down. He got tired. Really? The man who pays what, like $2 million a year for his fitness wore down. That's all I heard. He went 7 of 22. He went 5 of 10 from the free throw line in that game, and they got blown off the floor because Steve Kerr inserted Iguodala into the starting lineup to defend LeBron, and Iguodala wins MVP of the finals. I don't know.
Hold on.
So maybe Kevin can get a little bit of a out of gas pass.
Chris, what was Game 7? We talking about a Game 4 in LeBron's building, and he lost. What was Game 7 of this series? Now, I want to ask you this, Chris, because you say a quarter century. If I'm not mistaken, you say you covered the NBA for a quarter century. Which team do you think was better?
Yes.
The 2015 Golden State Warriors or the 2020 Milwaukee Bucks? Which team would you say was better?
Warriors.
I don't know. It's closer than you think.
And KD had more help for as much as Harden was a shell of himself. He did it almost, 22, 9, and 9.
Yeah.
And Blake Griffin played pretty well. He had more help than LeBron had in 2015 without Kyrie and Kevin Love.
Time out.
You know that, Skip. His next guy was Matthew Dellavedova.
Yeah, who was pretty great.
Don't do that, Skip.
Well, he was.
Don't do that, Skip.
He saved LeBron in games 2 and 3. Well, did he not? Did he not make big shots down the stretch?
You see what he just did? So did Jeff Green? Did Jeff Green save Kevin Durant in that Game 5?
Well, how about Game 7? Jeff Green, he played. He actually played 13 minutes. He didn't even take a shot in Game 7. What's that about?
You see what he did?
Landry Shamet, did he take a shot in Game 7? He didn't take a shot.
Jeff Green had 27
How much help did Kevin have? None.
Okay, but
Zero.
In that historic performance, you didn't mention Jeff Green. You talking about boom, shot right between the eyes. He just proved to you. You didn't mention about that 20. You didn't mention about that 27. You didn't mention about that 19.
49, 17, and 10. Is that not a virtuoso?
Hold up.
3 steals and 2 blocks.
Chris, what have we asked LeBron James in the playoffs for his entire career? What you asked Kevin Durant for 3 games, they said, KD, this is what we need you to give us for 3 games. We asked that for LeBron for the entire playoffs, not for a series, for the entirety of the playoffs. Remember, Skip, his last year in Cleveland? He averaged 34, 8, and 8. Not for a series, for the entire playoffs. That's what he averaged. And you over here crowing, you up here like a rooster on a Sunday morning, waking everybody up talking 49, 17, and 10.
You need to sit down. You need to sit down.
He lost.
Come on.
Now I need you to tell me that.
He made one of the great clutch shots in the history of basketball, as Chris just detailed for you. It was a thing of beauty.
What again?
And his toe was about a half an inch on the line, or you're cooked. You're done. I thought it was over.
All right.
Chris, you know what I did? I almost won the lottery. If I'd have got those 5 numbers correct, I'd have won the lottery.
No mercy. Today on FS1, the Copa America continues with a jam-packed doubleheader. Uruguay takes on Chile at 4:30 Eastern. Then Messi leads Argentina against Paraguay at 8, all on FS1 and the Fox Sports app. Guys, Devin Booker didn't waste any time. No time wasted against the Clippers, as he did it all with a 40-point triple-double in Game 1 of the Western Conference Finals. Paul George led the way for a scrappy LA team with 34 points, but Phoenix was too hot as they won 120-114. The Clippers will direct their energy to Game 2 as they look to even the series. Chris Broussard still with us. Chris, you tell me, what did Game 1 tell you about what we can expect here?
Well, it was a lot of what I expected. I think this is going to be a great series. I'm giving the Clippers a legitimate shot, even without Kawhi Leonard, who I don't expect to see at all in this series. But they showed against Utah that to write them off under any circumstances is foolishness. So I'm giving them a shot. That said, I got the Suns in 7. They have the home court advantage. They're the healthier team. And Chris Paul will be back at some point within a game or two. So I think the Suns take this. But I learned 2 things. One, and I felt it, but you saw it yesterday, the Clippers aren't going to be able to treat DeAndre Ayton like they did Rudy Gobert.
True.
So they were able to exploit Rudy Gobert, on the perimeter by getting him in mismatches. They can't do that with DeAndre Ayton because Ayton is more athletic. He's a little more comfortable and able to guard on the perimeter better. So with his length and athleticism, I don't think that'll be something the Clippers will be able to take too much advantage of. And then the second thing is just Devin Booker. Devin Booker has been underrated and overlooked for the last 5 years. Whenever we talk about the best 5 players, 25 and under, he was rarely mentioned in the top 5.
Correct.
And he is showing now that he is a budding superstar, a star who's a budding superstar. I was saying all year, as much love as I gave to Chris Paul, he was 3rd on my MVP ballot. It is a 1A situation there, 1A, 1B situation. A lot more than people gave it credit for. I had Devin Booker on my 2nd team All-NBA. And he didn't sniff the first 3 teams All-NBA. So I think he's finally starting to get his due. I've talked with Devin, and he loves Kobe Bryant. Kobe mentored him. Kobe schooled him on the Mamba mentality. Kobe felt he had it anyway, but he just talked to him about it. And Devin wants that Mamba mentality, and I think he's got it, and he's showing it. So remember, too, and not that the Clippers stopped Donovan Mitchell, but Donovan Mitchell's 6'1". Devin Booker is 6'5". So he's a 6'5" version to some degree of Donovan Mitchell. And so I think he is going to be able to lead the Suns past the Clippers. Good series, but I think Phoenix gets it.
Oh, Chris, I wanted to show you my parlay winnings. I won this, the Bucks.
We're talking about the Clippers.
Oh, my bad.
Because you have been wrong about the Clippers every series all year long. I don't know.
I would be right about this one. I agree with you, Chris. It's Devin Booker and what he was able to do without Chris Paul. Because normally when Chris Paul is there, he can just focus on scoring. But yesterday, not only did he need to score, but he needed to get other guys involved also. He was sensational. A 40-point triple-double. He's one of 4 men that can say they've had this type of performance in a division or conference final. So that goes without saying what he means. Because like you said, and he's just not in love with the 3. Sometimes I think Donovan Mitchell falls in love too much with the 3, and he doesn't put the ball on the floor and get to the mid-range. Devin Booker is like, hey, I get to this mid-range, I'm more deadly than shooting the 3. So what's the point of, I know analytics says, take the 3, but what good is missing a 3 when I can get to 15 feet and make that shot? But I think the biggest difference is the difference between Phoenix than what you saw in Utah. Bridges, Crowder, Craig, Booker can defend off the bounce. They couldn't stay in front of those guys. So when they space the floor, Skip, they get into the paint and they're kicking the guys wide open. Rudy's standing in the paint, and you want him to close out the corner 3s. You're asking too much. Crowder can stay in front of you. Bridges can stay in front of you. Booker, Torrey Craig can stay in front of guys. So you're not going to ask DeAndre Ayton to do quite as much. Give the Clippers credit, Skip. They spaced the floor. Ty Lue, like you said, he'll come up with a game plan that's going to say, okay, this is what they're doing. This is our counter to it. And he's going to force.
Throw Chauncey Billups in there, too.
Chauncey,
he's like part of the brain trust.
Who I believe is going to get a head job this year. I believe he's going to get a head job this year. So with that being said, I'm not counting them out either, Skip. I learned my lesson. They were down 0-2 both times. And I said, you know what? But you know what, Skip, remember they was picking all-star teams? And everybody said, man, the Utah. Why y'all didn't pick Rudy? Why y'all didn't pick Donovan Mitchell? And there you have it. This is why. This is why.
All I heard the last series was, Donovan Mitchell is so overlooked and underappreciated. He's a superstar. You can see it every night. And slowly but surely, and I give you, he's much shorter than Devin Booker is, but they figured him out to the point that on, what was it, Friday night, when the Clippers finally closed him out in 6, Donovan Mitchell in the fourth quarter was 2 of 9. Okay, so it kept happening. Slowly but surely they would figure him out. And there were moments on Friday night when he blew them off the floor, and so did Jordan Clarkson.
Yeah, but Skip, in a situation like that, I want you as the best player on the team, as the superstar, to settle everybody down, to let everybody know everything's going to be okay.
I got it. But now you're seeing there's some flaws in his makeup.
Yeah.
Okay, I got it. Devin Booker was Kobe-esque yesterday. I can't. He was so special that he was even shredding the double teams with great, not good passes, great passes to open shooters who made a whole lot of open shots. But my Clippers made 20 threes to only 13 threes at Phoenix for the Suns. That's plus 21 from the three-point line. You would think they could win that game.
Oh, yeah, you probably
But
would.
when Devin Booker's going for 40, it's hard to overcome his two-point shooting because he is deadly from the mid-range.
And they had 6 guys in double figures.
Okay.
You had 3.
Okay, I got it. And now here's where you really got me. If Marcus Morris Sr. has a knee injury and he was dragging his knee around yesterday, I might be finished here because it's enough to lose Kawhi. But what do I always tell you guys? They tend to go weirdly as Marcus Morris goes. Okay. Well, he was 0 for 5 from 3 yesterday. They made 20, but he didn't make a 1. And it hurts them because he gets open shots and he can defend at a premium level, and he was not around at the end of the game to defend. So now let's get to Devin Booker and put him in some perspective. I tweeted in the second quarter, I guarantee he will cool off, in all caps. Well, he did in the fourth quarter. At the 9-minute mark, after he had another little salvo, if we could quickly see what happened from the 9-minute mark down to 20 seconds left in the game, Devin Booker went completely cold. Nobody seems to remember this, but he missed 5 straight shots. Here's the first one. That's a way short clank. And here's the second one. That's a way off left. That was almost an air ball. Here's the third one on Reggie Jackson. He pulls up and he misses it badly left. Here's the fourth one on a drive shot. He's going to drive it and throw it up over to nobody. He hits the top of the backboard. That's like an air ball. And then here's the fifth one on Reggie Jackson. It's pretty far off again, back iron. Okay, there's 5 straight shots. So I'm thinking, you know what? We got him on the run. Clippers cut it to 2, 20 seconds left. They're inbounding on their end of the court. If we could see this play one more time. This is the weirdest, worst defense I've ever seen on a play of this magnitude. Rondo's sort of looking at the basket, and he lets Devin Booker run straight underneath him and continue to curl off that set for a dunk, a wide open dunk. This is the play of the game. If you stop him here, you're going to have a shot to tie or win the game. And he's actually facing the basket, guarding nobody. And here comes Devin looping around the set. And Rondo just doesn't take him until it's too late. And he runs. He's got obviously a big step on Rondo because Rondo's facing that way and is playing outside the whole set. I've never seen that happen before. I fell on the floor and nearly died.
Oh, you showed, Chris, did you see what Skip Bayless did? He showed 5 of Devin Booker's miss, but he didn't say anything about Devin Booker scored 11 points, 11, 6, and 5 in the fourth quarter. And the guy playoff P, from the 9-minute mark, he checked back in at 9:05. Can you tell the people at home that didn't get an opportunity to watch the game how many shots did he make?
I'll tell them exactly what happened. Over the last 6 minutes of the third quarter, Paul George actually outplayed Devin Booker and scored 14 quick points in 6 minutes and got them right back in the game, which was tied going to the fourth. Thank you for bringing that up.
I could hold on. I'm about to look at something different on my TV because my TV keeps saying that Devin Booker scored more points in the third quarter than Paul George.
How many is barely?
He had 18. Your guy had 16.
Oh, okay, wow. But my guy got 14 late.
What happened?
To bring it to even going to the fourth. Way to go, Paul. Playoff P.
So what I'm seeing is when the game was right there and it mattered the most, how many points did your guy get?
Okay, but everybody was chipping in by then. Reggie's getting hot. Rondo's got a hot hand, made 2 threes and a drive shot. Okay. Did we not get within 2 with 20 seconds left? Well, all we got to do is stop them one time and Devin Booker's gone cold?
If playoff P gave you more than 1 point, you might have been ahead by 10.
If we get the ball back down 2, maybe playoff P makes a 3 to end it right there.
Skip, you're going to have to foul because there's only 20 seconds. You're not going to get the ball back because they don't have to shoot a shot.
What are you talking about? If we get them,
Oh, yo, you want to steal? Oh, so
we would steal the ball. What if?
Really, Skip?
Well, really, that's what they were trying to do.
So you gonna pull a Larry Bird against the Pistons? Go steal the ball and go throw it to DJ. He gonna lay it up.
Hey, my team came from 25 down in the third quarter on Friday night at home.
That says more about Quinn. That was about what they did.
Well, it may be, but it's hard to come from 25. Right. It's hard to come from 0-2 down at Dallas when you're 30-11 down.
No, not with the three-point shot now. No, lead is safe because we've seen it too many times. We've seen it too many times. We just saw Atlanta come back from 26. We saw them come back from 18.
Clippers got guts and grit. You know it.
I'm not saying, but guess what? I got to trust Monty. In Monty, I trust.
Really?
This Phoenix team is more athletic. They're more athletic than Dallas or
Utah. Yes,
Utah was.
Chris.
Yeah, so that's going to be an issue too.
So much good stuff from you. So much over the weekend. I feel like we could continue for hours about everything. Chris, we'll check in with you very soon.
No mercy.
Trae Young was having his way all series for the soaring Hawks. He struggled with his shooting a bit, Game 7, but still finished with 21 points and hit some big buckets late to send Atlanta to the Eastern Conference Finals with a 103-96 road win. So, Shannon, what letter grade would you give Trae for the series?
A.
As in ATL?
ATL. You know what it is?
You're home away from home?
You know what it is, Skip. Stop playing.
See, where were you this weekend?
Don't worry about that.
Yeah.
With the A.
Yeah.
And you know what happened?
Yeah.
Those lemon pepper wings was being served up last night. A bunch of them, too.
I'm sure.
I'm giving him an A, Skip, because what he did as a 5 seed, he led his team to a victory over the number 1 seed. And he played, Skip, look, they won these 4 games by a combined 17 points. They won by 4, they won by 3, 3, and 7. And he averaged double digits. He averaged 29 and 11 for the series. He had 5 games in which he had double-digit assists. And no, he didn't shoot the ball well, but what he is able to do, he says, even if I'm not shooting the ball well, I can find another way to contribute and help my team win. I can get John Collins' easy shot. I can get Herter. I can get Bogdanovich. I can get Gallinari. I can get those guys' easier shot because me getting into the lane, getting that floater, how many lob dunks did he have, Capella and John Collins? And John Collins had a dunk on Friday night. I didn't know how, I didn't think.
Did you see him post-game with the
You saw that? Hey, I think we got that.
We got
Jim, we got that? Do we got that video with John Collins?
He wore his T-shirt with the dunk picture on.
Oh my God! I didn't think he was gonna be. I didn't think Joel Embiid was gonna be able to make Game 7. There it is, right there.
I'm just curious where he got this from.
You deserve
how quickly he got it.
John Collins plays bigger than you think. He's like 6'9", and he plays like he's 7 feet
tall. But he can elevate. People don't realize that he can jump as high as he can, Skip. And so when you look at it, Skip, he really controlled the game. He was able to, get the floater going. He had games. Game 1 they won 35-10. He had 25-18 in a Game 4 win. He had 39 in a Game 5 win. And last night 21-11. So Skip, he did everything you would ask a young point guard to do. He did it. No, he didn't shoot the ball well, but what he showed you, even if I don't shoot the ball well, I can find another way to help my team win and get past a 5 seed beating a 1 seed when no one gave him a chance but me. And I'm able to drink this, courtesy of one Skip Bayless. Oh, Skip Bayless, one thing about you, you pay your debt off. That's what I like about you. You pay your debt off.
I went into the weekend 45 cases up.
Now you
and that's
down
just
32.
for 2021.
Now you down 32 cases. I'm going to get some more
back.
back.
Went back to each of the
No, we ain't going back.
Okay. So you gave him a very objective A, a straight A, right? I'm going to be nice today to little nice Trae. I'm going to be nice. I'm going to give him a B- because I do like his spunk, his spirit, his moxie. He play. His heart is huge. His heart is bigger than his body is. Because he just plays fearless, and yet he just shoots the 3 too much. And I think he has to try to live up to the hype. The ATL hype of it's State Farm now, right?
Yeah, State Farm.
But he has to live up to, he'd cut his threes from 10 a game 2 years ago to 6 a game this year. And then in the playoffs, he started going crazy again. And last night, he's 2 for 11. And last night, he's 5 for 23. So he's been a lousy shooter, but the assists overcome most of it.
Yes.
And I give you the lob dunks because he was putting Embiid on skates and he'd get Embiid backpedaling, and then all of a sudden Embiid would stop cold and he'd just throw it up to Capella and Capella would dunk it. And that's about all Capella can do is dunk it.
That's it.
but he beat him that way. And when you average 11 assists for 7 games, that's
pretty good.
I'll give you that one. That's very good. But the point is, for the 7 games, he shot 39% from the floor. That's horrible. It's hard to overcome that. It's hard to win a series when your point guard shooting 39%. He shot 32% from 3. So if you look at the playoff, just the overall rankings of shooters in the playoffs, he ranked from the floor, the 39% ranked 82nd right now of 105 qualified. The three-point shooting is 66th of 89 qualified. So he's near the bottom in both categories, shooting from the floor and from 3. Overall, in the series from 3, he's 20 of 62. It's just too many that he takes, and he'll take some logos, and then finally in the fourth quarter, he made one.
That gave the separation that they needed.
It puts you up 6.
Yes.
Okay? So it's one that you can take, because if you miss it, it's not going to kill you.
Right.
But then down the stretch, he took another one at 129 left and missed it badly, but they called Collins for a moving screen.
Right.
So that got eliminated. Then Trae had 2 turnovers last night in the last 2 minutes that looked like they could hurt you, but Embiid would just cancel it with a turnover of his own. So my point is, I don't know. I look at the fourth quarters. He shot 6 of 17 from 3 in the fourth quarters. Remember on which night was it? Sunday? Friday night. He was 2 of 9 in the fourth quarter. So I don't know. He shot the ball poorly. He played a brilliant floor game. He played like a genius floor game. I will give you that. So I'll go B-, but I don't know how you could go all the way to A for that series
because
for him.
Think about it, Skip. They were a 5 seed and they beat a 1.
Okay.
And nobody, first of all, they weren't even supposed to get past the Knicks.
If Herter doesn't hurt Philly like he did last night.
He owed him because remember that game, he scored 0 points. But even Friday night, Skip, Ice Trae was 34 and 10. You can live with 34 and 10.
Yep.
And so what you're asking him to do, Skip, like you said, I mean, you say Donovan Mitchell 6'1". Trae Young is what, 5'11"?
Maybe 5'11".
So,
I agree.
How much do you love it for your guys, Atlanta? Shannon?
Yeah, we stand up.
Yeah, you're excited
We're in
about
the
it.
building.
No mercy.
Paul George and the Clippers had a rough start to the Western Conference Finals as they lost 120-114 in Game 1 to the Suns. A playoff P had 34 points as he kept LA in the game with big shots late. The Clippers will now look to even the series in Phoenix for Game 2. So, Shannon, after this weekend, has Paul George convinced you he is playoff P?
No, he hadn't convinced me. Because you look at the game yesterday, up until it mattered, Paul George, what did he do when the game mattered? The fourth quarter, when the rubber needs to meet the road, what happened, Skip? 1 point on a technical foul that shouldn't have been called. 0 for 5 from the floor. 0 from 3 from three-point line. So in 9 minutes and 5 seconds, Paul George had as many points as I had, and I was on a plane flying back from Atlanta. But damn, I could have done that. They had 1 point, 1 more point. I'm on a plane. 33,000 feet above.
What do you have for the game?
32, 33. What do you have?
34.
How many came in the fourth quarter?
32 through 3 quarters.
Oh, what?
That's playoff P to me.
No. Playoff P, no. Go back and look at the game. When Utah made their push in the second quarter and halfway through the third, where was Paul George? Terrence Mann and Reggie Jack got it going. And then all of a sudden, now I can come on in there. Y'all done took all the blows. Nah, Skip, don't do that. What we gonna see? We're going to find out what your guy's going to be able to do because we don't believe Kawhi's coming back.
He is not coming back.
And he's going
Trust me.
He's going to have to lead this team.
Yep.
You believe he can. I don't believe so.
There is no more pandemic P. There is no more bubble trouble. He is nothing but playoff P, and he showed you that every fourth quarter against Utah 6 times. He averaged almost 10 points a game in the fourth quarters. It's 9 point something, but he scored 13 in Game 1 in the fourth. Then it went 10, 6, 9, 7, and 10 on Friday night. I will take almost 10 points a game from playoff P because that will work. He is the point guard of this team. He is the leader of this team in the absence of Kawhi. And the weird part about it is I love Kawhi Leonard. I miss him. It's almost certain they're not good enough without him to advance. But the point is their closing chemistry that I saw on Friday night and even yesterday was actually a little smoother without Kawhi because he and Paul George just kept looking at each other like, Are you going to do this or am I going to do it? Is it my turn or is it your turn? Now it just smooths out and it's anybody's turn. It can be Paul George's or it can be Reggie's or it can be playoff Rondo's.
You know what I was thinking? I remember a team that was down 10 points heading into the fourth quarter, and a guy once scored 16 points, had 3 assists for 22 of their 30 points that he scored in the fourth to get the game to overtime. And all you mentioned is that what you keep showing is 3 turnovers. Now, this guy has 33 points.
Wait, are you talking about LeBron?
I did not say no names, Skip. How you know who I'm talking about?
Game 6 of 2013. LeBron came all apart in the last 3 minutes. He had 3 unforced error turnovers. I couldn't even believe it in the last 2 minutes.
But your guy scored 0 points on 5 shots. My guy scored 16 points.
Are you actually comparing Paul George to LeBron James? Thank you.
No.
That means he is now arriving as playoff Pete. Thank you. Close the deal.
You said he's back. How can he be back if you don't score any points, score 1 point in the fourth quarter? When your team needs you the most, you abandon them.
How many players are capable in this league of scoring 14 in 6 minutes down the stretch of a third quarter in game 1 at Phoenix against the prohibitive favorite and the higher seed?
25.
How about Paul George?
Stop it.
Thank you.
I can name 25 guys on top of my head right now can go do what he does.
No. This guy is special.
He is, Skip. Yeah. I'm not Skip. No one is. The reason why he catches so much criticism is because of all the reasons that you're saying. He can shoot the 3. He can get to the rim. He got mid-range. He's a great free throw shooter. That is not the problem. The problem is him shrinking like polyester.
Okay. We'll see.
Like polyester.
Yeah.
Here we go. On to game 2.
And I know you had some polyester back in the 70s, isn't it?
No. I have a feeling you guys are going to enjoy this next one.
No mercy.
Giannis scored 40 points in a duel versus Kevin Durant in a Game 7 thriller Saturday between the Bucks and Nets. Despite KD dropping 48 points, the Greek Freak kept his cool and helped deliver the upset in overtime with a 115-111 victory. Milwaukee is heading to the Eastern Conference Finals after the huge win. So, Shannon, give Giannis a letter grade for his series versus the Nets.
Skip, I gave him a B+. I would have given him an A, but I thought the Game 5 for me is that he settled. And I thought the first 2 games, I still think he settled too much. But in Game 6 and 7, he settled less. He's like, James Harden, you know what? I remember what you said about me, too. And I'll let you out off the hook in Game 5 by shooting a fadeaway. Skip, he tried to bully his way, shoot over the top. He was trying to get, like, you know what? Hey, if you foul me, you foul me, but I'm going to have confidence that I can go to the line and knock these shots down. So I gave him a B+, Skip, because Game 6 and 7, he was sensational. He averaged 32 and 13 for the series. But that wasn't the most impressive part. The most impressive part is that he stopped settling in those games, because if he had kept settling in Games 6 and 7 like he did the first 5 games, they would have lost this series. And considering that Holiday and Middleton, Skip, they didn't play good, but for like a small window in the fourth quarter, Giannis kept them in the game until they got, Middleton ended up hitting that final shot. Middleton hit a 3 and then hit another clutch 2. But Holiday played terrible this series. So I gave him a B+ because he started attacking and stopped settling.
So I guess it's time for the Bucks to trade Giannis, because for the 7 games, he shot 48% from the free throw line. At least Ben Simmons shot 61% during the regular season, right?
Hold on. One guy averaged 33, 32, and 13. Your guy averaged 9. Yeah, Trae the guy that averaged 9.
48%. That's 29 of 60. And he shot 2 air balls on, Saturday night?
So let this sink in for a second. My guy shot 48%. Your guy shot 15% lower than that. Your guy shot 33 from the free throw line, Skip.
Okay, back to the question. I will give Giannis a B for the 7 games.
Okay.
Because I give him an A for Saturday night. That's the best I've ever seen him play in a big game, a game of magnitude.
Thank you. I will agree.
He kept himself barely together. He hyperventilates. He airballed 1 free throw because he just got overextended. One time they had to just take him out of the game because he was hyperventilating. He just gets a little over the top with his emotion and his energy because he wants it so bad he doesn't know how to keep his poise.
It was short and to the right.
It was short right. It might have been the worst air ball I've ever seen. But to his credit, he kept himself together. And in overtime, he did take it into the middle of the post, and he went up over KD, and it bounced around, and it fell through. I will give you that. And that ended up being the shot of the game, right? So overall, his performance on Saturday night in a Game 7, had to be his most impressive of his career. So good for you. You advanced. I give you a B. There were a lot of rocky moments along the road.
Because Skip, you look at the first 2 games, he was still, because I thought once James Harden went out, I was like, okay, Giannis, this for the taking. Ain't no get. They don't have it. Well, they still had Kyrie, but once Kyrie went away, I was like, well, okay, now it's basically gonna be KD. So Giannis, just go inside. They're not finna put KD on you for the entirety because they need his offense. So just take advantage. And when James Harden waved off the double team, I was like, come on, Giannis. But he didn't let him off the hook, Skip, game 6 and 7, like he had in the previous 5 games.
And I'm not going to let him off the hook. He should beat Atlanta and get...
No. Can the man even celebrate? You can't even let the man celebrate. I don't know if he...
gave him a B.
I know who he did beat.
Who?
I know who he did beat.
Listen to me.
The best player on the planet.
I know who he didn't beat when he was...
Guys, listen up here. Russell Westbrook could find himself getting traded for a 3rd straight offseason, even after leading the Wizards to the postseason. LeBron and Anthony Davis followed Westbrook's wife on Instagram, causing many to wonder if a blockbuster deal is in the works. People don't miss anything on social media. Shannon, is this a big deal or no big deal?
Not to me, Skip. I don't really understand the social media. I don't know if you're not supposed, you follow someone and they're married. I don't know if you're supposed to follow their significant other. So I don't try to read too much in there. I do believe the Lakers need a point guard, but I just don't believe Russell Westbrook is the right point guard for this team.
But doesn't it feel like LeBron and AD are trying to recruit Russ by sort of buddying up to his wife on Instagram just by following her?
Maybe so, Skip, but I would prefer Kyle Lowry or Brogdon.
I think he'd be a terrible fit, except he would be a great scapegoat for the quote-unquote GOAT, right? Because everybody would blame Russ.
Well, kind of like you did, you did Blake Griffin and Jeff Green for what happened.
Them.
Oh yeah, you did. Oh yeah, you did. Oh, you did. Jeff Green didn't take any shots.
How about Joe Harris?
Oh, Joe Harris gets
there's a scapegoat.
The 3-point shooter, he can get hot as anybody.
Yep. Or James Harden. Cardboard cutter.
0 for 6 in the OT with an air ball.
Now, I feel like my guy would have done that. Start the show right over again because you guys were so fired up all day. Good news for Undisputed. We're back at the same time tomorrow morning.
Go
Shannon,
Vandy.
Stop drinking the dew. The herd is on now. Have a good day, guys.